season, the little DDSN radio college football show. We got Connor here, the encyclopedia. How you doing today, Connor?
Doing good. I appreciate the intro with the encyclopedia name there. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's not waste any time. Let's kind of go over what happened last week. I mean, we had a pretty. I mean, for us, it was looking good until it wasn't. We got hit with bad beats galore in basically every game last weekend. I know I did, especially in the Kansas game. Well, I lost it on the last play of the game. The Virginia game came down to the last play of the game. And then Duke was in the game until they weren't with their 5 turnovers, but they went head to head with Illinois. But the turnovers killed them, obviously. And I'm trying to think. I think there was one other game that I just
Ole Miss
the Ole
Kentucky.
Miss game, the Ole Miss game, the Ole Miss game.
Terrible.
So
Yeah.
with Ole Miss, they were basic. I mean, they had to come from behind, and then they kind of had control of the game, but they just totally sat on the ball. I was surprised Lane Kiffin kicked the field goal, and then I don't know what happened at the end. They kind of just like gave up. Kentucky had a long pass, got in a field goal range, and apparently, because I wasn't watching the game, I think I had it on mute or whatever. And I guess Lane Kiffin had called timeout, which allowed Kentucky to kick that late field goal because it apparently looked like, Stoops wasn't going to kick a field goal, but because he called timeout, he basically had to kick the field goal. Yeah. What's up, Andrew? We got Andrew. San Diego State is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of got smacked around by Washington State. Um, which I'll let you talk about that one. I'll let you talk about that one, Connor, because that was part of one of your best bets.
That was my favorite bet, and it did not go well at all. So what I have to say about that is I was wrong about San Diego State clearly, but my thoughts about Washington State do not change. I'm still not high on the Cougars. They lost a lot of talent in the transfer portal. I may or may not be discussing Washington State again today, but my thoughts do not change about the Cougars, but my thoughts do change about the Aztecs. That is for sure. San Diego State looked bad, like bad, bad. Washington State could not get a push on the offensive or defensive line against Idaho the week before. I didn't think Washington State's line of scrimmage was great. I really thought the San Diego State offense was just terrible. There was no passing game to speak for. The defense had their moments, but then they were put in short fields because of the offense. So ultimately, San Diego State is just much worse than I thought. Much worse. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Aztecs if they don't improve. But Washington State, we'll see what they do in Denton tomorrow. But my thoughts don't really change about Washington State right now.
And who's their head coach? Isn't he supposed to be like a offensive like whiz kid or something? I can't think of it. I don't have it in front of me. Do you know who that head coach is?
Yeah, former Colorado offensive coordinator briefly, and then the former Kent State head coach.
Okay. Okay.
But you're right.
Andrew
Yeah,
says he tailed all your futures, so hoping Washington State starts losing. Hopefully that starts this weekend with against North Texas.
Yep. I'll be discussing about that game later on in the show. I like the Mean Green this weekend.
And that was the other bad beat I had. The SMU Mustangs, total meltdown at the end of the game. That was a nightmare. But that gives us a perfect segue though, and let's jump into this weekend's game. Starting with a couple good ones this Friday, and a couple that I like. But let's go ahead and get into the first one. This one's at 6:30 Central, and that's going to be Colorado at Houston. Cougars are laying 5 points. This jump from 4 to 6 to 4.5, and then now it looks like it may settle at 5. What do you think about this game, Connor?
I don't really have any strong leans with this. I mean, I have 3 best bets for this weekend, and I'm probably only going to have a few best bets for every single weekend moving forward, just to keep it short and concise. So I have no leans here.
Yeah. Any other info you have on the game?
I think it'll be interesting to see how the Colorado offense does against the Houston defense. I know Houston really hasn't played the best of competition. They played Rice, who beat Louisiana, and I know there were some people that were on Rice last week against the Cougars. But Houston's defense is typically really good, or whatever defense is coached under Willie Fritz will typically be very good. So,
Yeah.
but this will certainly be Houston's best competition up to this point. But then that being said, I'm not high on Colorado's offense at all. So, I mean, obviously, I had a win total under for Colorado that I placed way back in January, under 7.5 wins. Love that play, but that wasn't available before kickoff of week 1. It was at 5.5. But I mean, other than that, I don't. Obviously, I hope for my future's sake that Houston wins this game, but like I don't have a lean in this game. That's how I feel about the majority of the Big 12. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. You have an under on Colorado, don't you?
Yeah, the under 7.5. Yeah,
That's
under
right.
7.5 wins for Colorado.
Yeah, and for me, I do have a play in this game, and this is one of my favorite games. And it was earlier in the week. I thought laying 6 points with Houston I was totally fine with, and that was before any of the quarterback information came out with Colorado. I did look into it before that came out, and Colorado did start 3 quarterbacks against Delaware. Each got I think Julian Lewis only had 4 passes in the game, but Salter and Staub it's Staub, right? That's the start. He's going to start. Okay. So he's going to start. But my thing is the Colorado defense in this game. We've got a night game in Houston. It's definitely going to be, it should be muggy and humid and hot. And the one thing about Colorado is we learned against Georgia Tech, they can't really defend the run. Georgia Tech was able to run right down their throats, and it looks like Willie Fritz loves to play defense, and he also loves to run the football. And I've been looking at the Houston games, and all they have been doing, the quarterback play has been fine, but they've got a running back, and I think he's from Hawaii. Oddly enough, he's from Hawaii, and he's been dominant in every game for Houston this season. And I think they take advantage of the Colorado defense. I like Houston laying anything 4, 4.5, 5, 6. I've got it all the way up to 6. Came back down on it -4, and I think this does close at 5. But I do like the Cougars in this game because of their rushing attack and Colorado's lack of defense and the instability at quarterback. Andrew says he got Colorado, or he got Houston at -4. I like it. Yeah, I like that a lot. I was honestly shocked when the number got all the way down there. For me, this is Houston's rushing attack against the Colorado lack of defense. All right, let's jump into the next one and another Good Friday game. This one's a Big 12 showdown. The winless K-State Wildcats laying 1.5 at the Arizona Wildcats. Any info on this game?
For me, it's just about where Kansas State is. I have no idea what to expect from the Wildcats. I guess from this point forward, I mean, is this like, are we on the fade Kansas State train at this point? I mean, they've just been pretty bad to start the season, and they were in a bounce back spot, at least an opportunity to bounce back against an Army team reeling from their loss to Tarleton State. But obviously Tarleton's a really good FCS team, but I mean, you're still talking about a rebuilding Army squad going into Manhattan and winning that game outright as a 3-score underdog. I mean, that's just not a good look at all for Kansas State. But it's the Big 12. Anyone can win games, or anyone can win in any game. So the spread's literally 1.5. It's basically a pick 'em. It's been bouncing back and forth between Arizona and Kansas State as a respective favorite. So I don't really know what to expect here.
Yeah. No, I agree. And after watching that Iowa State Kansas State game and then seeing how they struggled against, who was it? South Dakota?
Kansas State struggled against North Dakota.
Okay. So against North Dakota, Kansas State struggled, and then obviously, they aren't winless. I take that back. They do have one win, but they struggled against them, and then they obviously lost to Army. So I think Arizona's a little undervalued here because they did have a kind of a slow season last year trying to get the new coaching staff in order. But I think Kansas State just looks awful. They're really they really don't have any identity. They don't know if they want to run the ball. They don't know if they want to throw the ball. They don't know if they want Avery Johnson to run or throw. And when he does throw, it doesn't look very good. They have injuries at the running back position. Matt Wells, ex Texas Tech, Utah State head coach, he has not been calling great games in my opinion. So I am definitely on the fade K-State train. And I happily took Arizona, I believe, at a pick. And whether it's 1.5, Short money line plus 102 on Bet Online. I'll be taking the Wildcats tonight in a night game. Get a little revenge from their beating they took last year to Kansas State. I like Arizona in this game.
And if you are interested in taking Arizona in this matchup right now, you can find Arizona at plus money, or at least plus 1.5 at FanDuel right now. Money line is minus 102, but still good value if you like Arizona. But no play from me.
Okay. Yeah,
And I'm
that's
going to
not.
be I'm going to be commentating a high school game tonight. I'm not interested in having any bets aside on a Friday in the back of my mind as I'm trying to focus.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. It's not something I'd be wanting to stress either. And we do have a late night game, one more, and I know you got a little bit of info on this one. The New Mexico Lobos heading to Hollywood to take on the UCLA Bruins. Bruins laying 15.5 at home, and right now they're juiced $1.15. You got some info here, Connor?
This is one of those wait and see what happens spots. And then from this point forward, for either of these teams, depending on how this game goes, you could either ride them or fade them. So especially with UCLA with fading and then New Mexico with riding. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a bounce back opportunity for UCLA here, just like Kansas State had the opportunity against Army last week. Kansas State was laying 16.5, 17.5, depending on where you looked. And then right now, UCLA, as you just said, John, is laying 15.5 in this matchup. This is a gotta have it spot here for UCLA. So would it shock me if UCLA ends up winning this game by 21, 28 points? Not at all. But would it also surprise me if UCLA just continues to look lackluster and New Mexico, with their good coaching staff, covers a pretty large number here, maybe backdoors it? No, it wouldn't. I even know some people who are taking New Mexico outright just because they don't trust UCLA at all. So this is a no play for me, obviously, and it's going to be on a, it's tonight, and I'm going to be commentating again. But
Yeah.
no play for me here. But this is let's see what happens, because UCLA just doesn't look the part right now. Obviously, I think Tennessee won that quarterback trade, to say the least.
Oh, 100%.
And then New Mexico, it's like I wasn't high on them entering the season. Like they have a good coaching staff, but we see a lot of these G5 teams that are improving on the sidelines, meaning improving in the coaching staff, but they're just not that talented. This is not something that I would be interested in playing at all.
Yeah, and I understand that. And I was on UNLV last weekend, late Saturday night, and UNLV looked good. Obviously, UCLA, they went down pretty early thanks to some turnovers. They came back, and UCLA or UNLV was getting 2 points, I believe, at the time I got it. And I just went on the money line with UNLV. I thought that they, like I said, I'm fading Nico Iamaleava. I'm not a big fan. We saw how poor he did, or underachieved, rather, would probably be the best word to describe him at Tennessee. Even though they made the playoff, he underachieved against Georgia, in the playoff against Ohio State. Basically, a pretty embarrassing performance at Ohio State. Not the easiest against the national championships on their home turf, but I think they may have only scored, maybe 7-9 points in that game or something. But for me, I'm going to see how these first two games go. But now that it looks like UCLA is taking money. If I can get 16 points with New Mexico, I probably will do it, because again, like I said, when I was watching the UNLV game, UCLA really didn't show any flashes. Their offense doesn't look stable. Their defense, UNLV scored, 30 something points, maybe even got to 40. I don't know. I don't remember the final, but yeah, I do like New Mexico getting 15.5, 16. I don't know if I'm playing it yet, but yeah, something to keep an eye on later, late night tonight. But yeah, I think I'll probably have New Mexico though. All right, Andrew, am I crazy for laying 21 with Alabama? Let's jump into the 11 o'clock games. Alabama, I would say that you're crazy, because I wouldn't do it. That's just me personally. I'm actually on Wisconsin, so that's one of my best bets. I have Wisconsin plus 21, and this backup quarterback for Wisconsin, I like the way he's been playing. Billy Edwards Jr. never was a fan, especially when he was at Maryland. and he's injured for Wisconsin, and I don't believe he's going to start. I think the backup quarterback's going to start, and in a 20 in a 21-point game, all they got to do is try to control the clock, play a little defense, and score. Maybe score 14, 17 points, and I think Wisconsin can cover this game. Alabama's not the Alabama of old that we're used to seeing. We know how weak that they look, especially against Florida State. So if Wisconsin goes to the ground game and tries to punish the Crimson Tide, I think they could. They not. I don't know if they can win. If they win, great. But covered a large spread, 3 touchdowns. I think Wisconsin can stay within the number. And did they cover 21 points last year? I believe the spread was 14 or 21. Wisconsin.
I think Alabama did cover against Wisconsin.
It must have been late because I know Wisconsin played them pretty tough, at least for 2 or 3 quarters. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from this backup quarterback for Wisconsin, so I backed the Badgers plus 21, and that's basically my reason. Is I think they can score a couple of touchdowns and keep it close.
Yeah, I don't really have any strong leans here. I don't trust Alabama right now, laying a large number, but I also don't trust Wisconsin's offense at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anyone's crazy for assuming that Alabama plays with a little bit more determination than what they showed against Florida State, obviously. And we saw them bounce back in a huge way last week against UL Monroe. I think that spread was like 36.5, 37.5. And then they hammered it. So maybe they keep playing with that kind of determination. They're playing at home here. Or are they playing? Wait, were they
yes,
playing?
it should be a home game for Alabama.
Yeah, it is at Alabama. Yeah. But I'm not crazy about laying a large number like this because I've said it so many times this year, John. Games involving some of the top teams, I'm just not going to be betting because I just don't think that we have a clear top tier this season. And there's so many unknowns at quarterback across the top of college football. Now, obviously, if Wisconsin was, only like a 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 point underdog, then I'd be laying it with Alabama. But obviously, that's not the case because Alabama obviously has a lot more talent than Wisconsin. It's just that when you're talking these large numbers, you're talking now execution levels from the offense being, precise. And that's the stuff that I don't really know on a week-to-week basis what we're going to be seeing with those top teams. We've already seen it. A lot of these top teams don't look strong this season. They have a sloppy performance one week. They look okay for a quarter, and then the quarterback has 3 or 4 straight incompletions. They have a couple of 3-and-outs. You're thinking, wow, yeah, they're the better team, but not by that much. That's the point I was making the entire summer. These margins are not as wide between the different tiers in college football this year. So these are the kind of games that I'm not even looking to bet. So I'm not saying anyone's crazy for betting it, but I'm just going to stay away from it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that's part of the reason why I'll gladly take the 21. And like you said earlier, it's a prove me spot for Alabama. Can you cover 21 at home against an average Wisconsin team? We'll find out. And it's an early kick too. So, we'll see which team comes ready to play. And speaking of margins, this game I think it might be a good game. You may have some info on this, and that's going to be Memphis laying 3.5 at home against Troy, who had a pretty good showing against Clemson, but couldn't close the deal against the Tigers.
So when I first saw this line from Memphis, I was like, that's a little suspicious because I think Memphis on a neutral field is more than a touchdown better than Troy. Mm-hmm. But this is a trap game for Memphis. They host Arkansas next week. Troy coming off the loss to Clemson. First of all, we'll get to Clemson here in a second. I don't know what's going on with Clemson, really. Troy is not that good of a team. This is not are they really good this year? I don't think they are. They could be better than last year. Now, they were in a total rebuild last season, so that's a low bar to clear for Troy. They also lost some close games last year, so they can obviously improve from that. So, yeah, they should be a better team, but it's not like they're going to be the Sun Belt juggernaut this year. That's going to be James Madison probably. But so this is one that I'd stay away from because, again, it's a trap game for Memphis. As you're going to find out with my best bets later on, I am not going to be crazy about taking these short road favorites that you feel are better than the numbers suggest. We're going to see this in college football this year, and this is probably going to be something I'm going to have on my bingo card for all years moving forward. I'm not going to be crazy about laying, like, I think I said this last week on the show, like these 2.5 to 3.5 point favorites on the road. I'm not crazy about laying it with all these teams that I think are better on a neutral field, just because the number might seem like a point or two low, because we're going to see some backdoor covers as we saw last week with a lot of our bad beats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for this point moving forward, I'm going to do my best bets, not just spread wise, but like picking and choosing very so carefully, like the team totals and everything else. So this is a game that I would stay away from. I know when you look at it, it's like eye candy. You want to lay it with Memphis against Troy, and I get it. Maybe Memphis does cover, but this is a game I'm staying away from because I just don't like the spot here for Memphis. Plus, you're on the road.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame you. They're taking money. They're $1.20 at -3.5. Yeah, no, thank you. Laying a hook on the road. Yeah, no, that screams, yeah, upset. Here's another one that I liked earlier in the week, and that's going to be Oklahoma traveling to Temple. Oklahoma in a massive sandwich spot. They just finished. They defeated and looked great against Michigan, and now they have to travel to Temple, who has a little momentum. New head coach Casey Keeler, a little momentum, and then they have Auburn. They host Auburn next week, correct?
Yep, Oklahoma hosts Auburn next week.
It's in Norman. So I swiped this number up earlier in the week. That's the only reason why it's not one of my best bets. But yeah, I got 24 points with Temple. This is gonna be a tough one. And I did watch Oklahoma first half against Illinois State, and they came out pretty slow. Even though it was a home game, they played pretty slow against Illinois State. And now they'll be on the road against a well-coached Temple team. We don't know how good their talent is, but they've looked strong against their first two opponents to start the season. And it's just a brutal sandwich spot for Oklahoma on the road. Early kickoff in Philly. I scooped up Temple. You got any info here, Connor?
I do, and I have a best bet.
Oh,
so
okay.
Earlier this week, I was talking to you, John, about how I want to go back to what I used to do for my best bets last year, which is just look at not just spreads, but a little bit of everything and try to pick and choose the individual bets that I like the most. So this isn't just like picking and choosing off that app that I'm doing with the Cover 3 podcast is here, where you have to pick 6 spreads. And I just picked the 6 spreads for last week for the show. I'm not going to do it from this point forward. If people actually want to take my betting advice from this point forward, I'm going to do it like if I'm actually trying to give straight up betting advice and not just my 6 favorite spreads, right? So I'm actually going to try to give best bet material here. So I will go with the best bet for this game. Let's go Temple team total over 13.5. This did cross 14.5 earlier this week. I know I texted you about that, John, but it's since moved back down because a little bit more money has come in on Oklahoma, and I'll tell you why here shortly. But here's why I'm going Temple team total over 13.5. I think at FanDuel, if you shop around at FanDuel, you can find over 13.5 -118. That's actually moved down from -120 just like 30 minutes ago. Before we started the show, I looked at it. So here's why I'm doing Temple's team total and not the spread. So right now, if you shop around, I think you can find like anywhere from 22.5 to like 24.5 for the spread. Miss me with that because I feel like we're going to be sweating this out regardless of what side. If you had Oklahoma covering this number or Temple covering this number, I think there is a greater chance of sweating that out than the Temple team total. Either way, you're probably going to be sweating it out. But the reason why I'm choosing to go with Temple's team total is because this is a sandwich spot, for Oklahoma. It's kind of a trap spot. Now, just because it's a trap spot, and there's been a lot of talk about it, doesn't mean Oklahoma's not going to be ready. But what is the chance that OU comes with their A+ game right off the bat, coming off the game against Michigan? And then if Oklahoma does play well in the second and third quarters, what's the chance that Oklahoma finishes the game strong with Auburn on deck? Yeah. I feel like Temple, with their quarterback improvement with Simon, he's a senior. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, it's because they've played UMass and Howard. Sure. maybe Temple is getting a little bit too much hype right now. That could be true, no doubt. And I'll give you some stuff here in the weeds here, John. Temple's football page posted a graphic a few days ago of their upcoming game against the Sooners, and then in the background, very small, kind of darkly shaded over, was Baker Mayfield's mugshot.
Oh.
And some Oklahoma fans saw that, and Twitter was going crazy. The Sooner fan base was going a little crazy about that on Twitter. So I am not saying that Oklahoma is not going to come ready, because there's been a lot of discussion over the last 4 to 5 days about this game, and everyone's saying the same thing. It's a trap game. It's a trap game. So maybe Oklahoma actually does come ready to play. But the reason why I'm taking the Temple team total and not the spread is, what about if Oklahoma actually does care and they put Temple away quickly? But then we could be looking at garbage time. With Auburn coming up for Oklahoma, I doubt if Oklahoma does end up getting a large lead that they keep their foot on the gas, because you have a defensive-minded coach in Brent Venables, and then you bring up Casey Keeler, John, a few minutes ago. Very good coach. You and I were on Casey Keeler and Sam Houston last year in Conference USA play. We love Casey Keeler. This Temple team has no doubt improved, especially offensively. So with this number at 13.5 for Temple's team total, I feel pretty good about Temple getting 14, maybe to even like 21 points here, because I feel like there's a good chance either Oklahoma doesn't come out swinging, or they don't finish swinging in this matchup. And maybe Temple is actually like an okay team. We don't know that, but what about if they are? This is still a spot for Oklahoma where you wouldn't be shocked if they didn't keep their foot on the gas from start to finish. So I feel like the reason why I'm not taking the spread with Temple or Oklahoma is because either way, I feel like that screams backdoor. So you're going to be sweating that out. If you end up getting on the right side of that, good for you. And that goes for anyone, whatever side they have there. So the reason why I'm going with Temple's team total is because if this game ends up being kind of competitive for a little while, it's not going to be competitive in the fashion 3-0 or 7-0 Oklahoma for 1.5, 2 quarters. It's probably going to be more like 14-10 or 17-10, or maybe it's like 24-14 in the third quarter. So give me Temple's team total over 13.5. I like the spot for Temple, and I trust Casey Keeler. I think they can get 14 to 21 points in this game.
Yeah, and the game total is 51.5. Just to notate there. And yeah, I agree with you. And the one thing that stuck out to me with Oklahoma against Michigan, Oklahoma pretty much just sat on the ball like the whole fourth quarter, and they didn't really try to run up the score. They ran a little trick play, which I think the tight end dropped it in the end zone. And but other than that, they were pretty happy just to let their defense do the talking and let Mateer just kind of do some quarterback powers. They ran it a little bit too much with him for my liking in a game that they're trying to put away. But I think that if they do get the lead, kind of like you're saying, if it does get close, they're going to want to sit on this ball in the second half, let Venables' defense do the shut it out. But I think we may have an interesting game here for sure, especially an early kickoff.
I could see a scenario where Temple scores like 7 early points, or maybe like 3 or 6 early points, and then maybe they don't score for a while. But I do feel like Temple is going to get some garbage time points in this game, so I'm also considering that. So if Oklahoma ends up blowing Temple out and Temple does not score more than 13 points, then this is a learning lesson. This is not me trying to overhype Temple. This is me simply stating I don't love the spot for Oklahoma, but I still wouldn't take the spread just because we don't really know how good Temple is just yet. I just feel like this is a game where Temple's going to find a way to muster 7 or 10 points, where like maybe you could argue that they wouldn't get it if Oklahoma had been playing their A+ game. But that's the thing. Are we going to get OU's A+ game from start to finish? I doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah, and to piggyback on that, if they do score 14 points, you add 24 to that, that's 38 points. They should be able to cover. If they can score 14 points, I think they can cover 24, 23 points. Let's see. Andrew says, I live in suburban Philly. Temple vastly improved. That's good. It should be a good game for you to watch tomorrow for sure, especially if you live in the Philly area.
So I want Andrew's
Um,
thoughts real quick. Like, does he think like Temple is improved to the point where they can actually move the football without getting lucky, or do they need like things to go right to get those 14, 17 points? Because when I've watched Temple, I feel like they've improved to the point where they can muster 7 or 10 points here from moving the football. It's
mhm.
those other 7 to 10 points that I'm expecting to come a little bit from garbage time. So I want Andrew's thoughts on that. But I just feel like Temple is going to end up getting about 17 points here because
Yeah.
it helps being in the spot here, and plus being at home. If they were going to Norman, I wouldn't be screaming take Temple's team total over. But I just like the spot here.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we'll see if he says anything. Let's see the next game. Next game, another one, not one that I'll be betting, but just to see if you have any information on this one, and that's Oregon traveling to Chicago to take on Northwestern.
I guess we should have taken Oregon minus 28.5 last week, huh?
If I would have known the inside information there about Gundy saying all that stuff about NIL and Oregon and money, and then Lanning using it to motivate his team. Yeah, I probably would have definitely taken Oregon if I knew that was going on, because they just got the shit kicked out of them. Oklahoma State, that is, and Oregon showing that, you know what, we may be a legit team this year. But again, we're not really expecting much from Oklahoma State this season. But yeah, I wish I was on the Ducks in that game. What do you think about this matchup? Big Ten matchup, actually.
And it's gonna be played at the lakefront there at Northwestern. So yeah,
Oh, the
Oregon,
new the new stadium. They finally finished it.
not the new stadium, the
Oh,
stadium that they were playing at last year. It's this
oh,
in
okay,
between
okay,
stadium for Northwestern. But
okay.
Oregon, they should come in on their duck, like a big floating duck.
That would be intense. Yeah.
um, a no play for me. Again, large numbers with these top end teams this year. Whichever teams you consider, whatever teams you have first, second, third, fourth, fifth. I don't really care the order of teams that you have in your top 10 or top 15 respectively, but I'm just not going to be laying large numbers this year with the top of college football. Miss me
Yeah.
with that, really.
Yeah, and looks like this spread went down, went to Oregon laying 27 points, had been 28 pretty much the whole week. Sounds like a lot of tickets are on the Ducks, over 70%, but the line moved towards Northwestern, so that's going to be an interesting game. Not something that I'm going to bet on, especially the way Oregon beat up on Oklahoma State. I do not want to be sitting around Saturday praying for Northwestern to score a couple of touchdowns. That's not ideal for me.
And I'll know this from now on because now we've had at least 2 situations like this with Dan Lanning since he's been at Oregon as a head coach. If there is any kind of trash talk or any kind of discussion from the opponent
Yeah.
the week leading up to the game, take Oregon to cover because
Yeah, he takes it personally and he uses it definitely as motivation. We saw that I don't think it was last year with a
2
couple
years
years
ago.
ago with Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So obviously that exact kind of situation doesn't come up often, but when it does, I've got that in my back pocket. So I'll remember that.
Yeah. And Andrew says coaching improvement for Temple and game management, which is what they're going to need on Saturday.
Yeah, and Casey Keeler, Sam Houston won pretty much all their close games last year. And one of the reasons why we liked the Bearcats is because we trusted that coaching staff. They are very good at in-game management, no doubt about that. And so that's another reason why I think Temple can just kind of scrap their way to score, 14, 20 points. Do they make Oklahoma like nervous at the end, nail biting?
Mhm.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll see in that kind of spot, but I still feel like Temple's going to get, 7 early points and then 7 to 10 late points, and we'll see if they can muster some points in between there.
Yeah, if they can get 14 points, I'll be happy with that. Andrew asks, didn't Northwestern get rocked by Maryland? I think that would have been in week 1. I don't remember. I know Maryland dominated. I didn't know if I didn't realize they played Northwestern. Did they?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, we'll check on that. Because I know Maryland did dominate, but I didn't know it was against Northwestern. At least I don't remember. Okay,
No, they have not played yet this season.
they haven't
Actually,
played. Who did Maryland play week 1? Michigan State. They beat up Michigan State, I think.
Northwestern played Tulane in week 1.
Oh,
They got
Tulane.
beat 23-3.
Okay, that
And
was
yeah,
Tulane.
Northwestern Preston Stone has not looked good so far this season. They're coming
Oh, I
off
could say, yeah. I
a
mean, I could have told you
42-7
that
win
was going
against.
to happen.
Yeah, Northwestern is coming off of a 42-7 win against Western Illinois, but again, I'm not really interested in betting a number this high, 27.5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I do, I'd rather lay it with Oregon than back Northwestern. That's for sure. A couple MAC games. I know you kind of pay a little bit of attention to the MAC. Buffalo takes on Kent State. Buffalo laying 23.5 on the road. Any info on that one?
Um, let's see. My
Big
only
number.
lean in this game would be taking Kent State's team total under 12.5, but that's not best bet material. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
something that, if you're looking to bet something for every single game, that would be my only lean there. But
Yeah,
Buffalo's
there's
defense
people
is,
out there.
yeah, Buffalo's defense is really good. It's one of the better
Okay.
defenses in the G5. Kent State struggling once again, and the spread for this is 23.5. Yeah, it was 21.5 for a while, but more money
Okay.
has come in on Buffalo. I agree with the movement there, but I'm not interested in betting this game.
Okay. And Central Michigan travels to Ann Arbor, take on the Wolverines. Michigan laying 27.5, big number.
So last week, we were talking about Central Michigan and
And
Pittsburgh.
Pitt,
Pittsburgh
yeah.
was 21.5 point favorite. They ended up covering. Good for them. But similar fashion, I'm not interested in fading the Central Michigan coaching staff with this large of a number. I don't really know about Michigan's offense just yet. I don't trust Michigan with this large of a number, even though it's in Ann Arbor. I'll stay away from this. I'll stay away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, Pitt ended up. I mean, Central Michigan kept it pretty close, and then Pitt kind of pulled away a little bit. So I'm not interested in backing in chips on the road, and Michigan coming off a bad loss against Oklahoma. All right, the next one. This is one that is one of my best bets. I took it earlier in the week. And whenever we have those kind of numbers that we do like, that we know the line's going to move, we're going to start posting them um, on Twitter, Instagram, etc. But this one is the Clemson Tigers in Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech. And I got this at 4.5 earlier in the week, and it's still my best bet, +3. Yellow Jackets +3, and on the money line. I think that they can and will beat Clemson. I have not been impressed by Clemson whatsoever. Week 1, week 2, they have not looked great. Cade Klubnik has not lived up to the way he played at the end of last year. And Haynes King is a very good quarterback, even though he's a little older. But he did turn over the ball multiple times against Colorado, but still played tough, hung in there, and got the win late against Colorado. And we know Georgia Tech was kind of turning on last season. They had a couple bad losses, but they were the first team to take down Miami. Isn't that right? They beat Miami and gave them their first loss of the season last year. I believe that's correct. Connor will double check that.
Oh yeah,
But
Georgia Tech beat Miami. Yeah, that was Miami's first loss last year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, I like Georgia Tech here. I was surprised the spread was as high as it was, 4.5, 5. It should probably close at 3. They are getting money. It looks like it's $1.17 on Bet Online. So this may even go to 2.5. But for me, I like Georgia Tech in this game to win and +3. You got any information on this one, Connor?
I'm not willing to jump off the Clemson train just
Oh,
quite.
that's right. You have your Clemson futures. That's right. Oh,
Yeah,
this is a big game for you then.
it is. So the good thing though is that Louisville and South Carolina do not. Well, I figured South Carolina would not look as good. I had some takes about that. No futures about South Carolina though.
Yeah.
I figured that both the Cardinals and the Gamecocks would not be as good as anticipated, at least I'll put it that way, by some others. Georgia Tech was the team I was actually more bullish on. I did have a take and prediction on Georgia Tech, no future though, just because of Haynes King's injury situation and his history. I know Georgia Tech has a good backup quarterback.
They have a good backup quarterback. They do have a very good backup quarterback.
They do. So I'm not overlooking that. It's just that I'm not really interested in betting a team over 7.5 wins. Juiced at like what is it? What was like minus 154?
It was juiced heavily, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wasn't interested in that. But Clemson against Troy is the same situation that LSU was in against Louisiana Tech. The one game that actually went as anticipated last week for me was Louisiana Tech covering that very large number at LSU, and that was despite Louisiana Tech's offense not being good at all. As I thought it wasn't going to be very good, but it's that defense, and I'm going to have more on Louisiana Tech here later on in the show. But it was a tricky spot for LSU, just like Clemson was in a weird spot against Troy. You're coming off the LSU loss. You have Georgia Tech coming up. So I'm not willing to jump off of Clemson just quite yet. So I'm actually not – I don't have any plays in this game. I don't like taking those small road favorites, as I said earlier in the show, but I'm obviously not going to fade Clemson yet. So if Clemson bounces back here, at least they get a quality win, right? Like if Clemson wins this game – 27-20, something like that, then maybe some people are willing to assume, you know what, Clemson may not be as good as we thought coming into the year, but they're still going to be one of the top dogs in the ACC. If Georgia Tech wins this game, everyone's going to be fading Clemson, and everyone's going to be, look, we told you about Georgia Tech. We told you. Yeah, I know Georgia Tech's legit. This is not me overlooking or disrespecting the Yellow Jackets. I'm just not willing to fade Clemson in ACC play just yet.
Yeah, no, I get that. Andrew says he's all over Georgia Tech, and why does everyone love Dabo Swinney?
This is not me loving Dabo Swinney. This is me loving the returning production that Clemson had. And when you look at college football nationally this year, hardly any team was returning a lot of production. Clemson was. Now, I know just because you return production doesn't mean you should improve or doesn't guarantee you improvement. I get that. But Clemson was the youngest team in the Power Four last year. They were playing well down the stretch. Those young freshman receivers were injured in the first half of last year. They came back into the fold. Clemson looked improved offensively. And so I just figured that these sophomores to juniors and freshmen to sophomores would take those second to third year leaps, and we haven't seen that. So if Clemson doesn't perform all that well this season, if they're another 8-4, 9-3 team this year, then you best believe that I will no longer be taking Dabo Swinney with any kind of futures. But in terms of the ACC, I'm just not willing to fade Clemson yet.
Yeah, and if you're someone like Andrew who said he kind of tailed your futures, if you want to hedge your future with Clemson by taking the Georgia Tech money line, something that you could definitely do. All right, so the next game, this is a 2:30 game, but it's showing up at 11 a.m. on Bet Online, and this is the Georgia Bulldogs laying 3.5 on the road against Tennessee. Totals at 50. You have any information on this game, Connor?
We have another short road favorite that's perceived to be decisively better on a neutral. Well, I don't know about decisively, but better on a neutral field. I'm staying away. This is the story of college football this year. I said it so many times in the summer. We're going to have so many upsets this year at the top of college football. Get ready for chaos. So I am not betting any of these kind of games this year, except for one. I had a game of the year line with Penn State and Oregon, and look who looks like the better team right now. The Ducks do. So I'm not even feeling great about that game anymore. But that's the only game that I had a play on regarding the top teams this year.
And that makes a lot of sense because with Penn State, you never know what you're going to get. And Oregon, I still don't buy. I'm still not a Dante Moore fan, so we'll see when they play some actual competition, which is few and far between in the Big Ten. But we'll still see how good the Oregon Ducks really are. For me, I grabbed Tennessee at plus 4.5 earlier in the week. I thought that was a good number. I'm a big Joey Aguilar fan, believer. He could play. He could sling the ball around. They look great against Syracuse. Let off the gas in the last in the fourth quarter. Really, it got close, The only thing that worries me in this game is the Tennessee defense. Syracuse was able to move the ball with Steve Angeli. Again, they kind of let off the gas, got a little lazy in the second half. They won't have a couple of their cornerbacks, but again, I don't think that'll matter too much because it's more so the Tennessee pass rush and front seven that is impressive, not so much their defensive backs. Like I said, Syracuse was able to move the ball on them pretty easily when they didn't get a pass rush. So it will. I think it's interesting and it should be a good game. Georgia obviously is going to come prepared, and Gunner Stockton. I'm hearing that from Georgia fans that they're not sold on him just yet because he's throwing the ball 40 times a game and they're just not putting up the points that you expect from a Georgia offense with some athletes on the outside and running backs behind him. Any info on that?
No, I don't really have any strong leans in this game. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and like I said, I'm happy with. It looks like Georgia's taking money, so they're at $1.17 at Bet Online. So this may close at 4, maybe 3.5. This may get back to 4. I'm happy taking the hook with Tennessee with it being one of my best bets. I like the Volunteers. I think they can get a little revenge after losing last year in Athens. So I do like the Volunteers in this game.
you can find Tennessee at +4.5 if you like the Volunteers at FanDuel right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and this one, let's go back because this is one of your teams this year. 11:40 a.m. South Alabama, who looked impressive last week, travels to Auburn to take on the Tigers. Auburn laying 24.5 at home.
So I'm glad that we did not end up taking Tulane last week because I said most of the time I'm on John Summerall, but last week was just a weird spot. So yeah, South Alabama ended up covering that game. This is a large number for Auburn to cover in this kind of a spot, so I'm not messing with it. But
And again, they have Oklahoma next week, like we talked about earlier.
yeah, so what would be ironic, John, is that I'm not sure if you have a best bet on this game. I certainly don't.
No.
But it'd be funny is if we're talking about the Temple OU game, and it ends up being the South Alabama Auburn game that has a little bit more funkiness to it than Temple Oklahoma. So I'm
That's
not.
a good point, though.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't have any plays with this game. The difference between me picking Temple against South Alabama going on the road, Temple hosting. That was the difference for me. So I had both these games on my radar, but I trust the Temple coaching staff more than I do the South Alabama coaching staff. And plus,
Yeah,
going on the road,
especially at home, that's a big difference. And I believe, well, I don't know who Auburn played last weekend, but it's their
Ball
first.
State.
Ball State. Okay, so this is like their first home game against a decent opponent. Even though there's a G5, South Alabama at least showed up against Tulane, and I would guarantee that they'll show up again in this game. But yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. The way I saw Auburn's offense and especially their offensive line play against Baylor, there's no way I'm going to back a G5 defensive line against that offensive line. No, thank you. This was an interesting. I know that's a little bit off the radar, but this was an interesting game to me because, and this is UConn traveling to Delaware, take on the Blue Hens, and UConn's laying 9 on the road. But Colorado was Colorado at home last week against Delaware?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a similar situation to Colorado, and Colorado defeated Delaware pretty easily, and they used all 3 of their quarterbacks. But UConn laying 9, but Delaware's taking points. Looks like they're +9 minus $1.20. So people are betting on Delaware, but Connecticut's look good this year.
I strongly considered taking Delaware plus the points here, but no play for me. So I'll tell you why I was considering it and then why I didn't end up betting anything.
Please do.
So the reason why I was considering it was 100% on my radar. UConn is coming off of a heartbreak. You can call it a Husky heartbreak against Syracuse. They flat out blew that game. They were the better team for 3.5 quarters. So the way they lost that game twice. So
Yeah.
they lost it at the end of the regulation. They ended up tying it, obviously, but they had their hearts ripped out. And that was such a big game for UConn this season because they were coming into this year. A lot of players returning from last year's breakthrough team. It's a veteran squad for UConn against a younger team in Syracuse. Remember last year, UConn kept it close against Syracuse, lost by a touchdown. And in this fashion, UConn should have won. They still ended up losing by a touchdown. But and then so now UConn going on the road, you wonder how they're going to bounce back off that Syracuse loss. Maybe they come out with fire. They're ready to respond, and they're ready to put that Syracuse loss behind them. Or maybe it sits with them for another week. So the reason why I didn't end up taking Delaware here is because I don't really know what to make of Delaware. Now, for you box score people that like to go and look at the numbers, Delaware actually was just slightly outgained at Colorado. So now with that information, you might be thinking, oh, maybe Delaware is an okay team. Well, what's Colorado? We're so low on Colorado's offense this year. They play 3 different quarterbacks. Delaware had a couple of miscues offensively. They had a fumble right by the Colorado goal line. I think they had a missed field goal, a missed chip shot field goal against the Buffaloes, unless Delaware would have had no problem covering the 23.5 or 24, wherever it ended up closing. So Vegas was right on the money, no pun intended, for that game with Colorado, Delaware. But what is Delaware? Because we don't know what Colorado is. We don't know. Delaware is one of the 2 FBS newbies along with Missouri State. I have no idea who Delaware is. I think I know what UConn is, but what are they going to be emotionally this week? No idea. I was wanting to play Delaware plus the points here because if Delaware is actually okay, they're a live dog here in my opinion. But that's if Delaware is okay, and I don't know if they really are. So this early in the season, I'm not willing to play this game, but this is certainly an interesting game to kind of keep an eye on to see how UConn responds.
Yeah, and Delaware's plus 249, 250 on the money line on Bet Online. If you want to take a shot with the Blue Hens, I agree. I don't really know enough about Delaware to back them because we've seen UConn. They played pretty solid this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if they win this game by 10 points. So not a game I'm looking at betting, but some good info on that though. Here's one that you've been waiting for. 2:30 p.m. And it's the backyard brawl. The Pitt Panthers laying 7.5 on the road against West Virginia. Take it away.
I was thinking about betting Pittsburgh earlier this week, but it kept bouncing back and forth between 6.5 and 7.5. And Pittsburgh on paper is the more talented team. West Virginia on paper is in a rebuild year. It's a rivalry. I remember last year, the only week that I did not have a winning record with best bets was rivalry week. I went 500. And one of those losses was I took Ohio State to cover the first half against Michigan. That was a terrible play. Obviously, Michigan ended up beating Ohio State outright. I believe that game was tied at the half. So miss me with rivalries from now on, especially taking a road team. I'm going to try my best, John, to not take road teams and just to find those few plays that you like with some home teams that you feel that are at a good value. So, I mean, on paper, yeah, this could be a game where Pittsburgh ends up winning by a few scores, and you're like, why didn't I just lay it with Pittsburgh? But it's now 7.5. I think there are better plays to be had out there, so I won't mess with this one, but I would be a little surprised if West Virginia won, but it's a rivalry.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And last week West Virginia lost to Ohio, but like we talked about, Ohio was a live dog. They were just as good, if not better, and they proved it against West Virginia, especially West Virginia having the look ahead game against Pittsburgh. You got Rich Rodriguez, so they've had hell this week in practice getting ready for this game. Next man up mentality with the running back situation as well. And, at 7.5, I don't have a play on this game yet, and it's not a best bet. But by the time it gets to 2:30, if the morning goes well, And there's still a 7.5 sitting out there, I'll probably have a bet on West Virginia. But yeah, Pittsburgh so far, they're flying under the radar, undefeated, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
but they overachieved last year, so they're looking to build off of a really good season last year. And I don't know, in a rivalry game, I kind of agree. I can't lay 7.5 on a road. On the road, I would either take 6 or 7.5 with West Virginia or stay away. More than likely, I'll stay away from this one. But I could see myself backing West Virginia getting over a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm ultimately going to stay away from this game, but it should be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And okay, next game we had bounced back on to something that we kind of notated and talked about earlier, and something Andrew was kind of talking about, and that's going to be Washington State traveling to your neck of the woods to take on North Texas, Mean Green in Denton. Looks like North Texas is laying 6, but a lot of money's coming in on Wazoo. Washington State is laying a $1.20 +6 $1.20, and you can get North Texas -6 for even money right now and Bet Online. All right, take it away, Connor.
Guess what we're going to do again? We'll see if it haunts us. I'm going to fade Washington State. We're going to take North Texas minus the points. I think North Texas could win this game by a few scores. Now, I'm sure people are thinking, okay, enough with this guy fading Washington State. Didn't pan out well last week. Look, I don't think Washington State is any better than what I thought that they were in the regular season or in the preseason. The difference was last week, San Diego State was just much worse than I thought they were going to be this year. Washington State looks exactly how I thought they would. North Texas looks exactly how I thought they would. So, John, we talked about the Mean Green a little bit last week, and I said I don't trust UNT on the road laying double digits, or it was like 9.5 or whatever. Yeah. And what happened? They probably should have lost, but they ended up pulling it out in overtime, but they didn't cover. They didn't.
And who did they play again? I forget.
Western Michigan.
That's right. Road. Okay.
No, this was, it's kind of funny to say this about a G5 team against a former power conference team, and they're about to be the Pac-12 team, a true Pac-12 team again in Washington State, but the former Power 5 team in Wazoo. It's kind of a look-ahead spot a little bit for North Texas last week, which again is kind of crazy to say, but it really was. So I'm a resident of Denton. I'm a UNT grad, so I'll let that be known. So I'm sure people are going to be like, "Oh, there's a reason why he's taking UNT."
Yeah.
Huh?
Homer
yeah.
pick. Homer pick.
Well, yeah. Well, the reasoning for me picking this is I knew coming into this year. In fact, it's been talked about this entire calendar year. North Texas wanted to sell this game out. Right now, they've got about 75-80% capacity taken up in their stadium, which is actually saying something.
It's a big stadium.
It is a big stadium. They have never sold out DATQ. They have never sold out Apogee. It's the same stadium, just under different sponsors there. But this is the game North Texas is going all in for. And I know UNT also, they have an incredible home schedule this year. They host South Florida. They host UTSA. They host Navy. It's an incredible home schedule, but this was the game that they were penciling in because it's a former Pac-12 team, still technically Pac-12, also kind of / homeless team in Washington State. It's still a rebuilding season for Washington State. I think for the first time this season, the Cougars are facing a team that can pass the football. San Diego State cannot throw the football right now, which is not something I expected with their coaching staff. But it turned out to be that way. And that game was close until there was the safety. Going back to Washington State, San Diego State, that game was close until there was a safety and then the short field touchdown. Washington State controlled the first 4 and the last 4, or the last 4 first 4. Last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half. That's what made that game. And then there was the situation, the phantom offsides for San Diego State when they blocked the field goal attempt and returned it for a touchdown. That also changed the course of the ending of that game. Could have made a 1-score game. But point being, I don't think Washington State's any good. I think North Texas offense is really good per usual. Defensively, they are much improved this year. They are top 10 in the country right now against the pass. Washington State struggles to run the football. Give me North Texas -5.5, -6, depending on where you look. I think UNT could win this game by a few scores.
Okay, I like it. I'll be looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. I don't have a bet on it, but
Real quick, that's me fading Washington State. This is not me tailing North Texas. There's the
okay.
difference. That's how you know I'm not a homer. So if I'm wrong about Washington State this one last time, I won't fade them again until they play Toledo because I'm on Toledo this year.
Okay, perfect. All right, I like it. All right, here's one. Oregon State travels to Lubbock, take on Texas Tech. Red Raiders laying 23.5. Another big number against a scrub Oregon State side. Fresno State did beat them. They beat up on them.
Yeah, in fact, Oregon State should have beat Fresno. That they outgained Fresno State, and they had a pretty large post-game win expectancy. It was the special teams that held Oregon State back.
Wow.
No play for me in this game. This could be a look-ahead spot for Texas Tech. They got Utah next week in Salt Lake City.
Ooh.
So, no play for me here. No play.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bet Oregon State with your money, Connor. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. All right, next game. I believe this game's on primetime CBS. I don't know how many people are going to watch this, but the USC Trojans laying 20.5 against the Purdue Boilermakers. Any info on this one from the encyclopedia?
I had some Purdueings a few years ago. John, the year before you and I met in 2022, I had a prediction and a future about Purdue playing for the Big Ten championship. They ended up cashing. They won the Big Ten West in the last year in the old Big Ten that we knew it as. So
I don't think they've won a game since.
Yeah, Purdue has been very bad since.
Yeah, I don't think they've won since then.
Yeah, they've been for don't since then. So, Barry Odom is a huge coaching upgrade from what Purdue has had the last couple of years. So, I'm not willing to fade Purdue at this large of a number, especially with Purdue being the host here. Will we get a 100% strong performance from USC from start to finish? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm also not willing to fade USC against the likes of Purdue. There is Purdue plus 21.5 at FanDuel. If you think that's a pretty large number and you want to take the Boilermakers with the hook there, but no play for me here. No play.
Yeah, same here. I don't want to lay it with USC. They haven't had a tough schedule. Not that I dislike USC, but you couldn't pay me to back Purdue. I don't care what the spread is. I rather go watch paint dry than watch Purdue football game right now.
They do look better though. I will say that. Low bar to clear.
It'd be hard to look worse. It'd be tough. All right, here's an interesting game. Well, maybe not interesting, but I'll bring it up. Iowa State Cyclones laying 21.5 on the road against Arkansas State. Arkansas State got destroyed by Arkansas last week.
I know that you are aware of my thoughts about Arkansas State. I don't think they're a good team. So, but on the road, again, I'm not going to lay it with a road team, especially at this large of a number. But, I mean, is there any upset potential here? I don't think so. No.
Yeah, no, I kind of feel the same way. And I'm not going to lay it because with Iowa State, you never know. They may just run the ball the whole game and win. They'd be happy to win, 20, 27, 13 or something. So, no, thank you. Next game, 3:00 or 3:15, UTEP Miners travel to Austin, take on the Texas Longhorns. Longhorns laying 40.5. They failed to cover the 36-37 against San Jose State. But I don't know if the Miners are as good as the Spartans. What do you think here?
Too large of a number. Yeah. I'm staying away from this again with these large numbers. At least we have a home team with the large number. But no play for me here. Texas probably should have covered that large number against San Jose State last week. They had a fumble, I believe, inside the red zone of San Jose State pretty late in that game. So they may have backdoored, but with this large of a number, no thanks. But, let me look to see what the UTEP team total is. Maybe there's something with more value there.
3, maybe
6.5. No, I'm not
6.5.
sweating that out. I'm not sweating that out. So no thanks.
Yeah, nothing for me. Something that no, I'll be watching. I'll be watching the Tennessee game around that time, and I'll be watching probably this game that we got coming up next, and that's at 3:30. The undefeated South Florida Bulls take on the Miami Hurricanes. The U laying 17 at home. Any info you have with this one?
One thing I will do my best on is to admit fault when I'm wrong. And I could not have been more
That's one
wrong.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do my best at that. So I was totally wrong about South Florida and Florida last week. I mean, I thought Florida was going to control that game from the start. They were going to control the first half. I even had a strong lean in that game, which was Florida minus 9.5 in the first half. At some point, it feels like South Florida is going to come back down to earth. I like this Bulls team. I had a preseason prediction about them. They were literally my upside team that I had in my G5 superlatives. But in no way was I anticipating them to go into Gainesville after beating Boise State in the fashion that they did. I thought Florida was going to take that game seriously. But you know what? Maybe Florida is just not all that good. Miami on paper and on tape has looked the part this year in a small sample size against Notre Dame. But then again, Notre Dame, they have some young players on offense, a young quarterback. How good are the Fighting Irish ultimately? You can raise some questions there. So, John, we once again, we come back to large favorite with one of these top-end teams. I'm not willing to lay it. So, yeah, I'm going to stay away from this game. But, I mean, I'll be surprised if USF pulls off 3 straight upsets because I was surprised last week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule. They've knocked down Boise State, they knocked down Florida, and then they won't be sneaking up on Miami. Fool me once, fool me twice. I don't think they'll be able to do it a third time. And I like the way Miami looked against Notre Dame. I didn't watch the Bethune Cookman game, for obvious reasons, but yeah, this one smells like it's probably time for South Florida to take a battering. Miami has a lot of speed, talent that was on display against Notre Dame. I was very impressed with Miami. Carson Beck took care of the football. He looked like a pro behind that pro offensive line. This is just, I mean, Florida's a good team, but they're not. South Florida will probably still have the best coach in this game, like they did last week. So, but what Cristobal does well is stays out of the way. Sometimes he gets in the way from his talent, but hopefully he just stays out of the way and just let his guys do their thing, and they should be able to take care of South Florida. Am I going to bet on this game? I don't know. If I do, it'll probably be Miami. I just don't see them sneaking up on somebody else on a third time. And like I said, I was very impressed with the way they played against Notre Dame, and with that offensive line, Carson Beck taking care of the football, at least three strong running backs, great receivers. Yeah, I can't bet South Florida here. If I bet on something, it'll probably be Miami for all those reasons.
Yeah, if I were to bet on anything in this game, oh, this sounds familiar. It would be Miami minus 9.5 in the first half. But
That's actually not a bad number. Yeah, I'm seeing 10 on Bet Online, but 10, 9.5. I feel like that's not a bad number for because if they cover that, I think they'll end up covering the whole spread and for either side. So if Miami's covering that at the end of the first half, I think they take care of the game. If South Florida covers that, then they should cover the spread for the game because they do hang in late. South Florida does. They keep trying to score. They keep playing tough. So I think we'll know how this game goes, obviously, by halftime. But we'll see what I do here. But pre-game, pre-flop, nothing for me though. I'm not betting on this one just yet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay away and see how Mario Cristobal and the Canes are doing against such a large number like this. Because I mean, I could totally see a scenario where Miami wins like in dominating fashion, like what 45-17.
Yeah,
But I could also see a scenario where it's late in the game. Miami's got it in the bag, but maybe there's a backdoor cover here. There's a bad beat. I could see it with the Mario Cristobal team and Alex
yeah,
Golish. So, yeah, at that large of a number, I think 17.5 is a great number here. I think Vegas is right on the money with
yeah.
this. So I wouldn't bet it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And for the next game, 4 o'clock p.m. The only reason why I'm bringing this one up is because of how terrible they looked last week, and that's the Liberty Flames laying 5 on the road at Bowling Green.
So I don't think Jacksonville State's that good. I think Liberty just may not be all that great. Like, so this is similar to Washington State and San Diego State from last week. Sometimes you're right about one team, but you were just flat out wrong about another team.
Yeah,
And so some people will look at it and say you were wrong about both teams. Maybe so. We'll see moving forward. But I feel like I was more wrong about Liberty than I'm going to be wrong about Jacksonville State. Like I'm more wrong about Liberty than Jacksonville State. So, do I trust Liberty right now? No. But do I trust Bowling Green? Also no.
yeah, they've been getting stomped out against everybody. Is that right? Correct?
Liberty has.
Haven't they been dominated in every game?
Oh well, Bowling Green's schedule is really difficult to start this season. That's partially why. Liberty just hasn't looked good at all. They were tied with Maine in the fourth quarter at home, and then they go on the road against what's supposed to be a huge rebuilding season for Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State nearly took down UCF, but I talked about that last week. That was more about UCF's quarterback situation. And now Georgia Southern, who's 0-2 and has looked terrible, is hosting Jacksonville State, and they're a favorite. That should tell you something about Jacksonville State and what the market thinks of Jacksonville State. Not very highly. But Liberty only laying 5.5 against a rebuilding Bowling Green team. I cannot emphasize this enough, John. It's a down season in college football. I said it last week. It's just a down. I've said it this entire calendar year.
Parity, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's bad this year. Like someone's got to win. But am I crazy about taking these short road favorites because you think they might be a touchdown on a neutral field? No, I'm not crazy about taking that. So miss me with betting Liberty for the rest of the season.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I want nothing to do with them. All right, we'll skip the Middle Tennessee Nevada game. I don't think you have any info on that.
Middle Tennessee has looked really bad. I was hoping, by this point in this week, that there would be more money coming in on Middle Tennessee because no one wants to lay more than a touchdown or a touchdown and a hook with Nevada. But at this number, no. But I mean, I definitely trust Nevada more than I trust Middle Tennessee, but there's a reason why they're 9.5-point favorites. So no play for me there. That's a little too sicko mode for me.
Yeah, same. Maybe if that was like on a Tuesday, I'd probably back Nevada, but I'll just skip that one. Okay, now we have the Howard Schellenberger Bowl. Florida Atlantic heads to Florida International. FIU laying 2. I haven't seen any of these teams play this year. I'm not betting on this. I'm not betting on this one. Do you have any info?
No. There are not too many games every single week that I don't look forward to, but this is one of those games where I really just have no interest in watching it. So
yeah, like I said, that's another one. If it was on a Wednesday, I'd probably watch it, but Saturday, no.
And same with Murray State, Georgia State. Like I have nothing on that game, and so.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'm not surprised. But you do have something on this one. This one's at 6 o'clock. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, and that's App State laying 3.5 on the road, going to Hattiesburg, take on Southern Miss. You got some info for us on this one?
Well, I lean Southern Miss, but when I first saw the spread at like 2.5 in favor of App State, I became a little suspicious. And then when more money came in on App State, and now they're 3.5, depending on where you look. I mean, I lean Southern Miss here, but this is not best bet material. I think I want to see what happens in this game. With both these teams having so many new players, new coaching staffs, I definitely think Southern Miss has the advantage on the sidelines. They're at home here. So this might be like a little sprinkle on the money line at 3.5, or maybe just play Southern Miss plus 3.5 with the hook there. But this is not best bet material. This is something that I want to sit back and wait, see what happens, see how both teams look, and then we have a better idea of both of these teams after this game.
Okay. Yeah, and then Southern Miss on Bet Online plus 145 on the money line. Yeah, after the way App State handled Charlotte, this isn't something that I plan on betting on. But like you said, I look forward to seeing kind of how it plays out for information moving forward.
Like, definitely get eyes on this game, but unless you, again, like you want to sprinkle just a tad bit on the money line. Otherwise, I'm not interested in betting anything here.
Yeah. 6 o'clock. Ohio Bobcats travel to the defending national championship. Ohio State Buckeyes in the horseshoe. Buckeyes land 29.
Yeah, if you like Ohio, you can also find 30.5 at FanDuel. I've got nothing on this game. It's too high of a number. Like, with a lot of these games, it's like, what do the larger favorites do late in that respective game? Do they keep their foot on the gas? Do they care when they're up by 4 or 5 touchdowns? Are they interested in covering the number? Sometimes James Franklin's teams are interested in covering those numbers late in the game. Mm-hmm. We've seen some of those bad beats at Penn State over the years, but for a lot of these big favorites, they don't really care if they cover. Yeah. So they're just there to win, not have any injuries, take care of business, and move on. In Ohio, they're going to show up. They just had their Super Bowl last week against West Virginia. Ohio did. But no play for me here. I mean, Ohio State has a bye week after this week, and then they go on to play Washington on the road. I am looking forward to that game. I may have something on that when we get to that point. But, no play for me with 29.5, 30.5. No, thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't think you have anything on this one, but I just want to notate Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. Hokies laying 5.5. Hokies, I believe, got shut out after dominating Vanderbilt last weekend. This number went from 7.5. Now it's all the way down to 5.5. What do you have on this one?
I have not looked at the spread in like 48 hours. I assumed it was still going to be like 7 or 7.5, and I was going to have sprinkle on the money line. You can still sprinkle on the money line. I think Old Dominion's live to win this game, man. Virginia Tech is giving me bad vibes right now. And here's something else. Vegas obviously is looking at a one-score game here between these two. Do you know how many games Brent Pry, how many one-score games Brent Pry has won at Virginia Tech? Yeah, he hasn't won one in a long time. I think he's like 1-12 or 1-13 overall.
Oh, so he has one. Okay, I thought it was 0.
I'm pretty sure he's got one. But I mean, I can go back and look through the years for Virginia Tech.
He's getting fired after this year. It's bad. I mean, especially the way that Vanderbilt game ended last week, where they scored like 30-something straight points and came back and beat Virginia Tech. I mean, it was pathetic. It was terrible.
Vanderbilt at one point in the second half of that game had more points than Virginia Tech had yards.
Wow.
In the second half.
That doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, so it's just, I think I said this coming into the season on CFE, like Virginia Tech was just giving me very, very bad vibes coming into the season. I just didn't trust them at all. I'm going back through the years here, and yes, they had he's won one score game They won at Liberty 23-22 back in 2022 in Pry's first year in
I was about to
Blacksburg.
say that had to be his first year coaching.
Yeah, Saturday, November 19th at Liberty, Virginia Tech won 23-22. That is Brent Pry's only win in a one-score game at Virginia Tech, and he's been in a lot of one-score games. They've actually been like okay from a power rating standpoint the last couple of years. 2022 is a rebuild. 2023, they brought back a lot of production. They improved throughout the season. And then 2024, the year I was on him, and boy, I had to pay the price, literally, no pun intended. And then this year, obviously, they were not giving me good vibes at all. So I like Old Dominion. If you look at my superlative post on CFE, John, I had 10 Category 4 games, and then there were 2 other games that were on my radar as like longer shots, which was East Carolina over BYU. East Carolina hosts BYU later this month. And then the other game was Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. And part of that was because I was a little bullish on Old Dominion. The other part of it was I did not like the vibes coming out of Blacksburg. So this is like sprinkle a little bit on the money line, have some fun with it. Don't take Old Dominion plus 5.5. If you like him, just take him on the money line. Sprinkle a little bit there. No need to sweat it out. Have some fun with it. Kick back and watch some. I was about to say good football, but I don't know if it's going to be good football, but at least entertaining football towards the end if it's close. So,
okay, that's good to know. All right, 6 p.m. You have the Arkansas Razorbacks traveling to Oxford, take on Ole Miss Rebs. Rebs laying 6.5 with a total of 62, juice to the over. You got anything on this game?
Ole Miss, I don't think is as good as what maybe some were anticipating coming into the season. I know they lost a lot from last year, so I was a little bit more down on Ole Miss coming into the year. Arkansas, though, I'm also not that high on. So we should see a lot of points in this game, as Vegas is already hinting towards, with point totals around 62.5, 63.5, right around 63. Very common number there. No play for me here. Arkansas might be live, so this is like another Old Dominion, Virginia Tech, Southern Miss, Appalachian State. You want to sprinkle a little bit on the money line, have some fun with it, go ahead. But no, this is not best bet material at all. So,
okay. Yeah, for me, I don't trust Ole Miss. I don't like their quarterback. I don't like this team at all. I'm not very high on Ole Miss, and I'm definitely not high on Arkansas. I do like their quarterback, but I mean, Arkansas hosted Ole Miss last year. I thought Arkansas was going to beat them. Ole Miss ends up beating the shit out of them. So I don't. What's the Arkansas coach's name?
Sam Pittman.
Sam Pittman. He had one good year. He got a lot of hype. He was sick a lot last year. And I think this is going to be his last season as Arkansas coach, last year on his deal. And, he's going to need to win this game to at least try to stick around. And same thing with Lane Kiffin. He's going to want a good showing after last week. But I want nothing to do with either of these teams. And no play for me, and I don't see myself betting on it tomorrow.
Yeah, no play for me ultimately with this game. But it should be fun. I mean, there should be some points here with these two teams. So,
and speaking of fun, at 6:30 we got the Florida Gators taking on the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge. Tigers laying 7 points in this one.
No play. I'm still not completely sure about LSU's offensive line. Florida should have one of their better defensive linemen back from injury for this week. But obviously Florida hasn't looked good at all. So, yeah, I mean, 7 and a hook. It's tempting, but there's a reason why Vegas has that number at where it is right now. They're trying to tempt you either way, really. So, yeah, no play for me here. This is another one of these games with teams from a power rating standpoint at the top of college football. I'm not interested in it. So, no play for me.
Yeah, same here. Maybe I get on this later tomorrow night, depending on the spread. I personally I could see Florida having a big bounce back, but they're always terrible at LSU. LSU's terrible at Florida, so it would be tough to back the Gators. But I could see, anything over a touchdown, I'd probably be on Florida, but nothing for me right now. Definitely not a best bet. That would be just strictly an entertainment play. 7.5, I'd probably take Florida, but again, the road team in this matchup always gets beat up on. So, like you said, I think the books are kind of baiting people to take in Florida. But and we don't know how good Florida is. I would had high expectations for Florida this year, but after last week, anything can happen. Billy Napier surprisingly does kind of bounce back after having bad games. The team usually bounces back and has a good game. It happened last year. But I don't know. I don't know. I could see LSU dominating, but I could also see a close game of Florida. So I just don't really have a good kind of a good a feel on it.
Yeah, I don't have a great feel for it either, but I think LSU is a little bit more trustworthy right now with Nussmeier.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a bounce back opportunity for Florida. Maybe they try to make a statement with this game. Maybe they hang around. So no,
That's kind of what I'm thinking. But let's go to our next primetime game at 6:30, and that's the Texas A&M Aggies traveling to South Bend, take on the Golden Domers of Notre Dame. Fighting Irish laying 6.5, total 49.5. Any info on this one?
once again, we have a game featuring two of the better teams in the country from a power rating standpoint. So guess what Connor's going to do? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay away.
Stay away. Yeah. For me, it's been teetering between 6.5 and 7 all week. I could see people taking 7 with A&M after last year. That game was close. A lot of defense. The total is at 49.5. What scares me is Notre Dame's defense is not as good as they were last year. Offensive line is not as good as it was last year, and A&M's kind of, they're getting built up with what's their coach's name again? Elko. I mean, Elko's a good coach, and they have a great offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, who will be the next head coach at Kansas State next year. I guaranteed that a couple weeks ago, but no, A&M struggles against the run. UTSA ran the ball all over A&M, so I could see Notre Dame running the ball and trying to exploit the A&M defense. Something they didn't do against Miami for whatever reason. They did not try to run the ball against the Hurricanes until the second half, and magically in the second half they looked great. I do like CJ Carr. CJ Carr exceeded my expectations, mainly in the second half. But I don't know. The Irish definitely not as good as they looked last year. A lot of it is on the defensive side of the ball, and I wouldn't be surprised if A&M can keep this one tight. They have plenty of weapons. They got a lot of speed. Concepcion, he was a monster at North Carolina State. He's a monster at A&M. They got Marcel Reed, who, he could exploit this tech or this Notre Dame defense. So I think 6.5 may be too many points. For that reason, I don't trust the Notre Dame defense, especially the way they looked against Miami, against speed and power, something that A&M does have. I could see the Aggies keeping this one close. I don't know if they'll win, but I could see this being another 3 to 6 point game. It'd be
I've got,
hard for me to. It would be hard. What was that?
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it'd be hard for me to back Notre Dame based off of the way they played against Miami and how their defense looked. They struggle with speed, and A&M has speed. So I may take the Aggies in this. So I don't have a bet on it yet because it keeps teetering between 6.5 and 7. But yeah, something's just telling me that the A&M defense or the Notre Dame defense struggles with speed, and A&M has speed, so it could be a closer game than the spread's showing us.
Texas A&M have an interesting nugget here. So the
Okay.
Aggies are just 3-12 against the spread under Mike Elko. That's the second worst mark in the country since Elko took over for A&M to begin 2024. Notre Dame is 29-14-1 against the spread under Marcus Freeman. That's the best mark in the country since Freeman took over as a head coach for the Fighting Irish in 2022. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's good, and that's why I kind of felt comfortable laying a field goal at Miami, a couple of weeks ago. But after the way that Notre Dame defense played, I expect them to play better. And they did have a bye last week. They're idle last week, so they had plenty of time to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare. So it wouldn't surprise me if Notre Dame shows out and plays well against A&M, a team that they played last year. But I'm just waiting to see how this spread looks tomorrow night. But yeah, because of that extra time to prepare, I could see Notre Dame stepping up. And 49.5, the under, I don't hate the under, but again, that Notre Dame defense is going to have to make some stops though.
Yeah, this should be should be a very entertaining game. I'm looking forward to it.
Alrighty, and let's go to because we talked about this one earlier in the week, and that's the New Mexico State Aggies coming off of a win, traveling to Ruston, take on Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Bulldogs are laying 10 with a little bit of juice at home, $1.16 -10. What do you got on this one?
Well, it's Louisiana Tech, so guess what we're going to do with their defense? We're going to keep riding that La Tech defense. So the New Mexico State team total briefly bumped up to 16.5 yesterday. Shop around for the best number, obviously, but right now at FanDuel, I'm finding New Mexico State's team total at 15.5. I would still take the under. La Tech's defense is legit. I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'll say it every single week. This defense is for real. They have depth. They have playmakers. They have experience. It's a veteran defense with talent. And again, they have multiple guys who can come in and make plays. They shut down LSU's offense. They're going to do the same with every offense that they face this season. They're going to, especially in Conference USA.
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico State, are we high on them? Nope. So, I mean, I'm not trusting New Mexico State to score offensively. We'll see what the Louisiana Tech offense does. So we'll see if New Mexico State gets some other points there. But I'll get to that here in a second. But I don't expect New Mexico State's offense to score much at all against Louisiana Tech's defense. The question is, how does New Mexico State muster these points? Well, you could say, well, maybe it's going to be against the Louisiana Tech offense because the Bulldog offense has really struggled. So maybe they try to force the issue. There's a couple of turnovers. Here's the thing, though. As much struggle as there has been on the offensive side of the football for Louisiana Tech, the one thing that they haven't done up to this point is turn the ball over. They won the turnover battle in Baton Rouge last week, 1-0. They won the turnover battle against Southeastern in week 1, 3-0. So they take care of the football. They let their defense win the games. And they slow the pace down. Well, every once in a while they mix in some pace, but they don't force the issue. I'll put it that way. So I trust Louisiana Tech here to not give up many points, especially at home. Defense has a ton of confidence. They're riding high after that great performance last week defensively against LSU. So give me that New Mexico State team total under 15.5. And John, before I post the graphic when we're done here, I'll look to see if there's a 16.5. But again, for our viewers, look around for the best number there. But give me New Mexico State under 15.5. This is going to be a common theme with me. I'm going to ride the Louisiana Tech Bulldog defense in 2025.
And what do you think about the game total, 42.5? You think that could, because it looks like people are taking the over. It's at $1.23, 42.5. So that may move to 43 and more. What do you think? Because the New Mexico State offense, we know they did play well against Tulsa, but not enough to where, you know, and like you said about the Louisiana Tech offense isn't anything special. So what do you think about the game total in this one?
I'm not really big into betting game totals. I know I had one with you guys last year with Notre Dame and Texas A&M
Yeah.
in week 1. That's one of 2 game totals I've ever bet on. I bet on the under with Texas and Kentucky
Uh-huh.
last year, and that barely hit the under. I was sweating that one out like
Mhm.
crazy because Kentucky scored on a bunch of turnovers.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not really crazy about betting point totals. I don't have a strong lean there. You're this entire year. We're gonna tally it up, John. See how many times I bring up game totals. I'm probably not
Yeah.
gonna mention it too many times at all, if any. So yeah, we'll keep that as a we'll tally them up. But as of now, 0 game total bets for me this year. So I don't have a strong lean on that for this game.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. Just something because I know, you know, how you mentioned the Louisiana Tech offense and their defense. It could, you know, it could be could be a low scoring game. So that's a number that I'll keep an eye on by the time we get to tomorrow night. Next game, something Andrew brought up, which I'm looking at this spread for the first time. It's moved some, and that's 645 Vanderbilt Commodores taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Gamecocks now laying 3 points. This was, I believe, open 6, 5.5, somewhere around there, and it's been trickling down ever since. Now there's some buyback coming in on the Gamecocks. You have any info on this one?
Is Andrew siding with Vanderbilt here?
South Carolina. He said he
Okay.
bet South Carolina minus 5.5.
Okay. I Oh, this is one I'm staying away from. It's extremely tempting because on paper, the better team to start this season has been Vanderbilt. But at some
Ooh,
point, you're probably assuming that it's Vanderbilt, things are going to go wrong, or maybe it was just Virginia Tech being awful than it
Virginia Tech
was
being
Vanderbilt.
Virginia Tech. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe it had to do more about the Hokies and maybe they're kind of in quit mode. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah.
Um, with Virginia Tech, but Vanderbilt, I'm not willing to go all in on Vanderbilt. I mean, I'm never going to do that in SEC play with Vanderbilt. So I'm never going to
On
like
the
just
road too. I mean,
yeah.
and it's not an easy road game. South Carolina at night probably going to be. It might be a blackout. Well, they did that week 1, so probably not this week. But South Carolina's first big home game of the season, SEC opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not expecting like a timid crowd there for in Columbia.
So to go to Andrew's comment about South Carolina minus 5.5, I've got a buddy. He's a huge Gamecock fan. He was texting me yesterday. He's like, "Hey, South Carolina minus 4.5. Like, I think I would hammer that." And I all I said in response was like, if you feel confident in that, go for it. But
Hmm.
I said I think that's going to be a dogfight. Maybe
Yeah,
South Carolina wins this game by 6 or 7 or 8. But South Carolina has scored in ways that is viewed as unsustainable. Now, the first thing people are going to think of, it's Lenoris Sellers. He's going to find ways to make plays, to make things happen when nothing is there. Yeah,
hmm
he's probably going to do that a couple or a few times. But also think about the degree that South Carolina has had to score on special teams. It was a punt return touchdown in the fourth quarter that ultimately iced it against Virginia Tech. How good are the
correct.
Hokies this year? They might be complete trash. If
Yeah,
you look at the box score that South Carolina had last week against South Carolina State, South Carolina barely outgained South Carolina State. Like, do we really think South Carolina is a juggernaut? Lenoris Sellers might be an incredible athlete. He hasn't been great in the passing game.
yeah.
South Carolina might have 2 of the most talented players in the SEC, including Stewart, their edge rusher, and then Sellers. Sure. Yeah, I'm not arguing against that. And I'm not going to take Vanderbilt outright in South Carolina here. I mean, Columbia, in my opinion, is a extremely underrated place to play.
Yep.
So I am not willing to fade South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. No way. But I'm also not all in on South Carolina this year, like maybe some were in the offseason coming into the year.
Uh-huh.
I think South Carolina is closer to the likes of a Vanderbilt, Missouri, than they are Alabama, LSU. Texas. I know maybe some others would not agree with that, but I feel South Carolina is more towards the middle pack to the bottom of the SEC than they are the top. So there's a reason why this number is where it is, and I wouldn't bet it. So
yeah, I think you bring up a good point as we tie it back to the Virginia Tech game and the Hokies. I mean, Virginia Tech was able to move the ball and throw it around on the South Carolina defense. And if it wasn't for some drop passes and Virginia Tech being Virginia Tech, maybe that game turns out a little differently. But yeah, that game was close until they did have that punt return for a touchdown. What was it? The second half, it took them a long time before they even scored a touchdown. Virginia Tech's defense kind of shut down South Carolina, except for I think 2 drives. And it took I think it was a third down pass for a touchdown deep, and to kind of ice the game, pull it away. But yeah, at 5.5, that would be tough. But now it's getting all the way down to 3. I would lay the 3 with South Carolina. But Vanderbilt, again, common opponents, Virginia Tech. We're not very high on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not high on Virginia Tech. So I don't think I could take a field goal here. If this gets up to 4, 5.5, I may rethink this. I have no bet on it right now. But yeah, South Carolina at home. And Lenore Sellers is probably one of the best players I've seen so far this year. Only one game, and it was against Virginia Tech. But I mean, he looked like the real deal, to where he probably will come out in the draft. At least should go into the draft if all goes well for him this season, health wise. Yeah, a field goal, I'll take South Carolina. If this gets all the way back to 4.5, 5, 5.5, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, then I would think about Vanderbilt. But South Carolina at home, I would probably side with the Gamecocks, but I don't have anything on this game right now.
So I'll make a take for this game. No bets from me for this game.
Hot take.
I have a hot take for this game. South Carolina is going to have to score in an unconventional way to win this game. But
Beamer
here's
ball.
the thing. Exactly. Beamer ball, they typically do it, but they've had to do it so far to get these decisive leads in games that they were supposed to not sweat out. I mean, I know the spread was 7.5 against Virginia Tech, so it's not like they were a large favorite, obviously, but I don't really think anyone had on their bingo card this season in week 1 on that in the that individual time slot. Virginia Tech is going to take down South Carolina. No one was really saying that. Maybe some were taking Virginia Tech if that spread had gone up to 8.5 or something like that, more than a score, but I mean, it's not like anyone was anticipating South Carolina to be some way overrated team to start the season and lose to Virginia Tech and then go like 6-6. I don't really think too many had on their bingo card, but I'll say this. And again, I think South Carolina is closer to the Vanderbilts and the Missouris than they are the upper echelon teams in the SEC. So I don't necessarily disagree with the spread. It's kind of like Iowa in 2021. When Iowa would be like a short favorite or a short underdog in a game, and people were like, "Oh, Iowa should cover that." And sometimes they would barely, but sometimes they wouldn't cover, but they would still win.
Yeah,
because Iowa wasn't really that good on paper. I mean, they had a really good defense, but they had such a bad offense. But they would score in unconventional ways. Ways that on paper it's like my model does not project Iowa to have 2 pick sixes this week. And what does Iowa do? They have 2 pick sixes, and they win 24-14.
Yeah.
Well, in the same way, except more with special teams, that's what South Carolina has done this year. It's those unconventional ways. It's the things that, like, on paper, it's like they can't do that again. They can't do it again. There's no way. They keep finding ways to beamer ball through these games. So, but I think it's going to take beamer ball, like, to win this game, not to win decisively. To win. Okay. So I think we've got ourselves a dogfight. I would stay away from this game from a spread perspective.
That sounds good. Yeah, I look forward to this game. That's for sure. Here's another one since we've talked about these two teams a couple of times. 7 o'clock, we got the Duke Blue Devils taking on Tulane. Green Waves at home. Duke, this was like a pick. Then Duke went to laying a point and a half. And now it went back to Tulane laying a point and a half. You have any info on this game?
No, not really. I mean, power ratings, I think Duke's the better team, but I mean, I thought that a week ago.
Yeah.
So, and then they had 5 turnovers. And guess what John Summerall teams are really good at doing? Forcing turnovers.
Yeah.
So, no play for me. And again, it's another one of these road teams. Do you want to take a road team in a spot like this? I mean, I'm not willing to bet on it. You know, if you're asking
after last week with Duke, I would have to play Tulane here. I don't have a play on it, but if I was, it would definitely be Tulane at home.
Now, first of all, you know, Mensa, his former team here, obviously.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting story in itself. So this game is 100% get your popcorn ready, but this should be really fun. Should be. But I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, Duke bounces back, wins this game, and reminds us that, hey, you know what? Duke's still a fine team. They kind of self-imploded against Illinois and Tulane. Maybe we were hyping up Tulane a little bit too much because Northwestern just sucks. Like sucks.
Yeah.
Like no one was high on Northwestern, but maybe some people thought, hey, maybe Northwestern can win 4 or 5 games this season and look a little bit better than they were last year. But as of right now, they don't look like that at all. So maybe it's just that Northwestern was so bad. It's not like Tulane's offense was that good against Northwestern. So maybe Duke's still a better team than Tulane and they win this game outright on the road. I could see that. So this is not like a Tulane or no play for me. This is more like I just don't want to bet this kind of game on the road. So honestly, John, this is probably Duke or no play for me. So
okay. All right. That sounds good. Let's go on to we'll go ahead and call this the outhouse play of the game or the outhouse game of the weekend. And this is at 7:30. We got the Akron Zips taking on the Fighting Trent Dilfers from Alabama, Birmingham, and UAB Blazers are laying 11. UAB can't play defense. They can't stop anybody. Akron can't score. So
something has to give.
Exactly.
No play for me.
Nothing. Okay.
I've seen some people take.
That's just I had to bring it up. It's just like probably the worst game of the weekend, probably matchup at least.
I've seen some people take UAB minus 11, minus 11 and a half. No play for me. I have never, ever, I've never tailed Trent Dilfer in my life, and I will continue to not tail Trent Dilfer.
I did it once, and they blew like a 20-point lead or something, so I'll never do it again.
Wait, was it the FAU game a couple years ago when FAU came back and UAB, like, they won, but they didn't cover?
I forget who the opponent was. It may have been. I just know that UAB had the lead, and then they just melted down.
Tulane 2 years ago. Tulane ended up winning that game.
Yep, it was the Tulane game. That's exactly the game it was, Tulane.
Because UAB was a pretty large underdog, and I think Tulane ended up like they had a backdoor cover, I want to say. I don't remember who covered, but I know Tulane won outright.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you UAB did not cover. I can tell you that. All right, here's one little late night action. We'll go over the last 3 games here. Unless you have anything on Air Force Utah State, I don't.
Nope, I don't either.
This game was interesting to me, and that is tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. You got the Texas State Bobcats taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils in Tempe. ASU laying 17.5, total of 60.5. Any info on this game for you?
No. I don't have a strong lean in this game.
This was one of my best bets. I took it earlier in the week, except I got a worse number. I got Texas State plus 14, but now they're at 17 and a half. Reason being is against UTSA, a team that had a respectable defense, I thought. Texas State just destroyed them through the air, running the football. Their quarterback looked amazing. Their receivers were fast, outran UTSA, defeated their defensive backs and dominated them. And after ASU struggled against the Mississippi State offense and passing attack, I just felt like it was just too many points. And I'm not afraid of Texas State in a letdown situation because they almost beat Arizona State last year, but this that was at home and Texas State was favored by I think 1-2 points at ASU in that game. But I'm not afraid of a letdown spot with Texas State. I do know ASU is coming off of a heartbreaking loss, but to me, 14, 17 points was just too many because I don't trust the Arizona State defense, pass defense. And I was very impressed with Texas State's passing offense. And I think that they could score enough points. Maybe it's a shootout, enough points to keep it close and stay within the number.
Yeah, no plays from me, no leans in this game. But speaking of UTSA, I do want to bring up another game here. UTSA hosting Incarnate Word from the FCS. Typically a great FCS team, Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Haven't looked quite as good this season. UTSA is favored by 15.5. They're 0-2. Am I missing something here? Shouldn't the spread be more?
Wow. Yeah. No, I had no idea the spread was that low. I would definitely lay it with UTSA, and if I lost, I would lose. But this is one where they need a win, and they need some momentum going into Colorado State's next.
Mm-hmm.
And then conference play. This is like their last chance to get a tune-up game in because they had a tough non-con. I would like to lay it with UTSA. I believe. I don't know if they play last year. I think they played last year. Maybe not.
Oh, look. Okay, now does any of that have to do with the fact that UTSA is coming off an emotional loss to Texas State in a not heartbreaker, but just in tough, high-scoring fashion?
Mm-hmm.
Does that have to do anything with that spread being where it is? It's not exactly a look-ahead spot to Colorado State.
No, I think that's just a wrong. I just think that's a wrong number. I don't see how. I don't think UTSA is that bad. They played tough against A&M.
Yeah.
They did not take Texas State as serious as they should have, and Texas State had a great game. UTSA, I don't know, the Owen McCown, there's too many short passes. The defense is what's really what I'm worried about is the defense, and they didn't show up against Texas State.
To me, maybe I'm missing something here, but I mean, I don't study the FCS, but I watched a little bit of Incarnate Word against, I think it was Nichols, against Nichols, their first game of the season.
Nichols, okay.
And they just didn't look all that great. And you would figure UTSA bounces back. They really need a win, but maybe I'm missing something. This is not best bet material, but I don't know. John, do you think this is best bet material?
I mean, I would lay it with UTSA. I mean, 15.5. I mean, we know that they have an offense. It's their defense. And like you said, they're 0-2, so I don't think they're looking ahead to Colorado State. I think this is a huge game for them, especially the way Traylor's been talking in interviews, how disappointed he was in himself and the staff, and that he basically put the game on himself and why they lost. So I could see them. I could see them using Incarnate Word as a punching bag heading into Colorado State next week.
Yeah, me too. Because I don't think this Incarnate Word team is as good as what they typically are. So,
Yeah, I don't see it available.
That FanDuel for those that are watching and curious about this
Okay.
game.
Yeah, because with FCS games, they usually post them a little bit later, so that should be up tonight, if not early in the morning. But yeah, I kind of like that. I'm glad you brought that up because I mean that may be something I bet on for sure. Because I think after the way last week happened, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but last year after UTSA got killed by Texas State, they destroyed their next opponent.
Well, they actually last year they lost at Texas State 49-10, and honestly, Texas State kind of took their foot off the gas, and
Yeah.
and
Oh
they
yeah.
they lost at Texas the next week 56-7.
Oh,
But
they
then they
beat
beat
Texas.
who is this? This is Houston Christian. They beat Houston Christian 45-7. Incarnate Word's a better team than Houston Christian,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
they started off slow though last year. UTSA did real bad. I mean,
Yeah.
they were struggling with Kennesaw State. Yeah, so um
Yeah, I think that's one that we should definitely keep an eye on heading into tomorrow. Is that a 2:30 game?
it is.
Okay. And the last one that I wanted to go over was Minnesota at Cal. I think I'm pretty close to talking myself into taking Cal. Hopefully, I can get a field goal by the time this time or tomorrow night rather.
Yeah, no play for me here. I don't really know much about these teams. Haven't really shown me much, so I don't know.
Yeah, and then Boston College, Stanford.
Well, I lean BC there. That's for sure because I'm just fading Stanford big time. But it's not best bet material. Why?
Yeah.
It's a road team. I'm going to try my best to stay away from road teams regarding any futures. Really.
All righty, and that is a perfect segue into our best bet segment, and we wrap up the show. Let's go ahead. What are your best bets for this weekend?
All right. So best bets. Let's first go with my favorite, which is New Mexico State under 15.5 for their team total. I love this Louisiana Tech defense. This is just me riding that Bulldog defense. Second best bet is North Texas. Best number that I can find right now is -5.5 against Washington State. This is a huge home
Okay.
game for North Texas. It's an opportunity to kind of put their name on the map for this season. And again, I think Wazoo is still in a rebuild season. It's just that San Diego State might be even in a larger rebuilding mode right now.
Okay.
And then my third best bet, let's go Temple team total over 13.5 against Oklahoma. I talked about that game at length. I'm not sure what to expect from Oklahoma from start to finish. This is the stereotypical trap game. You're coming off a big win against Michigan. You got Auburn next week. What's the chance that Oklahoma is firing on all cylinders to begin this game? I doubt it. Maybe they handle their business in the second, especially third quarter. But fourth quarter, do we trust Oklahoma to keep their foot on the gas? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I think
Yeah.
there's certainly some garbage time opportunity for Temple in this game. And that's if Temple hasn't already hit that 10, 14-point mark in the first half to where you're feeling good about it with just a field goal to go in the second half or so. So like I could see Temple having 10 points at halftime, and then they get 7 points at any point in the second half,
Mhm.
and you hit the over there. I could see a situation where Temple has 7 points at halftime, 3 or maybe 6, and then they get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion late in the game, or maybe they
Yeah.
get 10 points in the fourth quarter. They get some garbage time like really, really late. I like
Uh-huh.
it. I like it. I don't my best bets in order: New Mexico State under 15.5 team total. Second one would be North Texas -5.5, and then third one would be Temple team total over 13.5. It went below the key number of 14. I guess sometime yesterday, maybe
Yeah.
earlier this morning. That's a key movement from me there. But man, I'm also considering UTSA -15.5 now that I'm looking at.
I don't hate that one.
Yeah, I mean, if they only win that game by a couple scores, I mean, that's not a good look for UTSA at all.
Yeah, I think that's one we should add. Make it an even 4 for you.
Let me see what the team total is for UTSA, because I mean, there's still some concerns with the defense.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay, I'm trying to find it. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. UTSA. Oh, they don't have team totals. They just have the spreads out for that game. Okay.
Yeah, for an FCS game, they probably won't have team totals for those. I don't
True.
think.
Let me look at one thing before we add that to the list. I mean, the defense for UTSA is still not great.
Yeah. Yeah, and then for my team, for my best bets, I'm going with. I do like Houston a lot tonight, but for my official 4, well, if I do 5, I'm gonna go ahead and say Houston. I'll just say Houston lane 5 at home. I'll stick with doing 5. So Houston lane 5, and then I have Georgia Tech plus 3, 3.5, whatever it is. And then same thing with Tennessee. Tennessee plus 3, 3.5, whatever it is right now. And then Temple, Temple plus 24. You can get that at Bet Outline. Temple plus 24, laying $1.15. And then Texas State plus 17.5. Those are my best bets for this weekend.
Did you want to do UTSA for yours or not?
No, I thought you were going to have that one. I got my 5.
Hmm. I don't study the FCS, so I can't tell you like why that spread is where it is.
Uh-huh.
I was surprised by that. I thought that would be around the 20-ish range.
Well, that's something I guess we could post later on the graphic. We'll give it some time. But yeah, if you don't have anything else, we can wrap it up, and hopefully we have a better weekend this time around. And we'll be keeping track of our best bets and our season record from here on out as well.
You know what? I'll go ahead and do it with UTSA. I'll lay it because
There you go. I like it. You know what? I'll tail you on that just to make sure that we get over the hump,
yeah, because
over the finish line.
I mean, last week I had like 3 or 4 games where I was like almost best betting this, but not quite, and I
Yeah.
would have won. And then it was the other games that I ended up taking that I had bad beats and lost. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take UTSA minus 15.5. This is a gotta have it. You're at home. Incarnate Word is not as good as what they normally are. I mean, there is more value to be had in the FCS market than the
Uh-huh.
FBS market because less people pay attention to those FCS teams. And
Yeah.
so maybe there's just not a ton of attention being paid to Incarnate Word and some of their regression for this season.
Yep.
And UTSA, offensively, we know they have it. I mean, they still look pretty smooth against Texas State. This is a bounce back opportunity for the defense at home before you go back on the road with Colorado State and Temple. So,
Mhm.
yeah, this is got to have it. I don't think they're going to be sleepwalking through this game. So, you know what? If they don't cover, then you know what? I probably won't be tailing UTSA too often. If it
That's probably a good idea.
so, but you know, I do remember telling you in the preseason I didn't want to tail UTSA in non-conference because I thought it was a tricky schedule,
Yep.
and it's so far lived up to the billing against the FBS. But now
Mhm.
because they lost to Texas State, not just didn't cover, now this is
It's
an
tough.
opportunity to potentially buy low, maybe with UTSA. So I'll take the Roadrunners here.
Okay. All right. I like it. Well, that's everything for us. We'll have the graphic up for other social media to post. That way we could keep track of the games this weekend as well as our record. And then I'll be posting up shorts on YouTube of this and some other little segments within our 2 hours. We kept it at 2 hours, so that's perfect. But you have anything else, Connor, before we shut it down?
Nope, I like my 4 best bets. They're all home teams. They're in good spots or bounce back opportunities.
Yep.
Or I keep riding that Louisiana Tech defense. I like the spot for North Texas. This is a game that I had highlighted as a Mean Green alum, and I know all the players are all in for this game. They're trying to sell out DATQ right now. I'm low on Washington State, and I know Washington State covered and won outright last week, but there's going to be a game this year, probably multiple, that Washington State loses in the fashion in which a rebuilding team would look. And I think this could be that kind of spot for them, especially going on the road, playing in the heat in North Texas. So, I like the Mean Green there as well. And again, the Temple team total, I guess that's more of a sicko mode play, but that's just me liking the spot. And this feels like an opportunity for Temple to say, hey, we came to play. We're ready to play. I don't think they're winning this game. I don't think this is going to be a nail biter at the end by any means. But I mean, I would be a little surprised if Temple scores, 10, 13 or less in this game. So I like that team total over. I think this is a spot where they score 14 to, 20, 21 points. I don't think it's going to be an A-plus effort from Oklahoma. I like the coaching staff for Temple. And you know what? I've only said this once an hour ago on the show, and I'll say this again. Maybe Temple is actually okay. Like maybe this isn't just Oklahoma's not going to be ready to play. Maybe this is actually having to do with Temple could be actually okay, and we don't know it yet. So,
and that's what I'm banking on as well.
So I like the best bets for this week, and again, all home teams. So I like it.
Yep. I think mine. Let's see here. I got everyone's at home except for Texas State for me.
There you go.
But all righty, it was good seeing you, and we'll see how this weekend goes. Hopefully, a little bit better, and then shut it down and do it all over again next week.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on again.
All right, we'll see you. That's the encyclopedia, and we're out.